Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. The verse for today, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Qiyamah in two verses, verses 14 and 15, talks about the Day of Judgment. He says, بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا, that the human being will testify and be a witness against himself. وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرًا, even if he throws out his excuses. So Allah is describing this idea of excuses, which is really important. Because on the Day of Judgment, He's basically saying that the excuses that you make when you're accountable for all the deeds that you've done and all the things that you've done in this world, you will make whatever you will make, but you yourself will testify against all the things that you've actually done. This idea of making excuses for ourselves is natural to almost everybody. All of us make excuses for ourselves. And usually the best people we make excuses for is ourselves. We should be making excuses for others, but we're usually much better at making excuses for ourselves. And Allah is giving us this idea and saying, you know what? All those things that you say, you know what? The reason why I didn't wake up in the morning for prayer, oh, I was tired from last night. Or the reason I was so mean to someone, you know, my parents were mean to me when I was a kid and that's affected me and that's why I behave the way that I do. And this reason and that reason, and we're so good at making excuses for ourselves. And we assume and we think that, you know what? The one who's most likely going to make an excuse for us will be someone who cares the most for us. Someone who cares about us the most. Imagine your best friend who loves you so much. And you say, you know what? This person would never sell me out. And then all of a sudden you've done something wrong. And they come and they question, and your best friend, the one you thought loves you the most in the world, rats you out and confesses every single thing that you've done. You're like, I can't believe of all the people you would do this to me. And you know what's worse than that is the one who loves you even more than that is yourself, because this idea of self-preservation that Allah has made within us. And Allah is saying that on the Day of Judgment, when people come and they're going to try to be, they're going to be held accountable for what they've done, is even when you try to throw out your excuses, you yourself will end up testifying against yourself for all of the bad things and wrong things that you've done. So what's the lesson? The lesson is, number one, to prepare ourselves for the Day of Judgment by doing the maximum good deeds and making istighfar and tawbah for the bad deeds that we've done. And number two, we need to start thinking about all the excuses that we make for ourselves every single day. I shouldn't, it's okay I did this, it's okay I did that. We should be cautious about those excuses, because we make those excuses in this world, but we're not going to be able to make those excuses on the Day of Judgment. We're going to end up testifying against ourselves with the real reality of how we truly evaluate ourselves. Not the additional extra charity that we overly give ourselves to the point where we're not even concerned with the things that we're doing. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among the people who do not need to make excuses for our actions on the Day of Judgment. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.